Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of churches to our executive director. Mark, in this season, it seems like everything is sort of ground to a halt, and yet the mission of Jesus continues to move forward. And I understand you have some updates for us about church planning in Sovereign Grace churches.
I do. I want our guys to know that the gospel mission is continuing even during a pandemic. And I want to talk about church planting, partly because it's just something I carry on my heart. It's something I pray for quite a bit. I think in part because I was a church planter, planted a church in Pittsburgh a million years ago.
Right.
But that only happened because the culture in Sovereign Grace, our gospel culture, fueled that. And what I mean by that, it's always been a part, church planting has always been a part of our DNA. And I want to just keep holding that out before us in my role and call us to pray and really call us to have faith for church planting. So to inspire your faith, let me just give you some updates. We have some church plants that are going to happen within the next several months. So
Wonderful.
Matt Turner is going to plant a church in Prattville, Alabama. We hope sometime in the fall of this year. Obviously, the pandemic has disrupted some plans, but that's his plan right now. And then Philip Estrada will be sent from the church in Seguin, Texas, to plant a church in San Antonio, Texas, sometime in the first quarter of 2021. And then Michael Granger, who's in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, had just about ready to go public with his plant when the country shut down. So he kind of pulled back on his plans. You can pray for Michael, that God would just give him wisdom, but I'm certain that probably sometime in 2021, he'll be able to plant that church. And then as you look out beyond just kind of 2020, 2021, over the next 3 years, we have 4 more potential church plants in Sovereign Grace. So I want guys to know the mission is continuing.
Amazing. While you're navigating through this on the leadership team, you've been working with Eric Terbetsky to refine and to rethink even some things about church planning philosophically. What are some of the things that you guys are pressing into as you think about moving forward in church planning?
We've had some great discussions. Eric's led us through those, and he's doing just a great job in his role. And we're hoping some of the ways we're rethinking about church planting actually has the effect of kind of revitalizing church plantings. It's always been a part of our culture, but let's plant more churches.
Yes. Amen.
Not for the sake of growth, but for reaching the lost with the gospel. So one of those philosophical shifts that we are making, and Eric's already put into action, is this. As you know, we've benefited from the evangelical church planting world that primarily is defined by a guy, a pastor who has a burden to go plant a church, maybe even a particular area. And that's a good thing. We want guys to have burdens to do that. But we're just going to shift that a little bit. And we want elderships across Sovereign Grace to feel the burden to plant a church, not just a single guy. Because I think when an eldership owns responsibility and prays and asks God to give them opportunities to plant a church or churches, I believe God's going to answer those prayers. And I think that probably fits Sovereign Grace a little bit better. It operates within our polity a little bit better. So what Eric has done is he's already targeted, I think it's 5 to 7 elderships across Sovereign Grace. And he's reached out to them and said, I'd love to meet you about just church planting and what I can do to serve you. And so I would say to elderships, if he hasn't reached out to you and you have a burden to plant a church, reach out to Eric. And he'll be glad to talk to you about just ways that we can come alongside of you as a leadership team to help you plant a church.
Great. Thank you for you and Eric and all of the thinking and praying and planning that's going into this so that we can be helped to plant more churches and see the gospel spread further. Any other thoughts before we go?
Yeah, just keep in mind that there are areas that don't have gospel preaching churches in the United States and throughout the world. And I would just encourage elderships to think about those areas and pray for those areas and ask God to provide all that you need to plant. And I'm hoping that in the coming next 5 years, we could even plant more churches because elderships have just assumed that burden and have actually gotten faith and are excited about making a sacrifice for mission, which is the
Yes.
last thing I'll say. I think mission becomes more real when you have to sacrifice for it.
Mm,
Our pastors know that, but that may mean you send one of your best pastors on your team,
right.
maybe who's labored alongside of you for a number of years. And that's the guy that the Spirit makes you aware, oh, he's to go. So be ready for that kind of Spirit-led, faith-infused work that God's going to give you.
Wonderful. So encouraging to hear about what God's doing, even in the middle of this pandemic and all of the things that are going on culturally. His mission moves forward. So thanks for your leadership, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you back here real soon.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.